The US finally get their man. Al-Qaeda's leader killed in a precision drone strike 17 years after the first attempt.
Spaced out! Russia walks out on their International Space Station friends to build their own orbiter after 2024.
Celebrations erupt around the world as the FDA authorizes emergency use of COVID-19 boosters months after recommending them.
And the upcoming TV schedule for primetime January 6 insurrection hearings, as well as the latest from the important FBI search of Mar-a-Lago.
Rummaging through garages of classified documents to keep you information. Information News Network with Brian Sockington and Sandy Hosier.
And later, Joe Sockic brings you all the latest excitement from the
Commonwealth Games in Birmingham, Brian.
Yes, the excitement from the Commonwealth Games in Birmingham.
Can't wait. Plus, we get hot and bothered with INN's own meteorologist, Jane Bunion, and her 9.5-day forecast.
Drone warfare is back in the USA after a recent quiet patch. President Joe Biden confirming the world's most dangerous man from 17 years ago, Ayman al-Zawahiri, was, quote, removed from the battlefield by a precision drone strike in Afghanistan, almost 1 year after US troops removed themselves from Afghanistan. Al-Zawahiri became the leader of Al-Qaeda after the killing and classified sea burial of Osama bin Laden in 2001. He was considered dangerous and hostile 17 years ago when he was first targeted for assassination by the US military, leading to the reported deaths of 105 people, including 76 children. Rupert Holdsworthy has more.
US forces give the nod.
The nod has been given for assassination by drone once again.
The United States will find you and take you out.
President Joe Biden achieving something 3 other presidents could not, eliminating Al-Qaeda leader Ayman al-Zawahiri just 22 years after the September 11th terrorist attacks by a secret, deadly, and invisible aircraft 11,132 kilometers from Washington, D.C. Stealth killing operations are becoming rarer, particularly since the Taliban resumed governance of Afghanistan immediately after the 20-year US occupation of the country, temporarily removing the former terrorist organization from US government kill lists. But other theaters of death are quietly being explored around the world. US Africa Command confirming American airstrikes in Somalia against Al-Qaeda affiliate Al-Shabaab on February 22nd, June 3rd, July 17th, August 9, and August 17th, barely rating a mention on mainstream news media. The strikes were conducted in, quote, support of the Somali government, as was a decision by President Biden to redeploy US troops to Somalia in May, reversing former President Trump's obviously stupid decision to withdraw them. But it's not all good news, as armed men stormed the Somalian hotel on the 19th of August in a completely unrelated attack no one has been able to figure out, killing at least 21 people and injuring hundreds of others, including American and international diplomats. And with drone warfare being conducted without the need for a war, it's likely this kind of cyclic barbarism will continue well into the future. Great news for the military-industrial complex and for jacked-up American ruffians who enjoy chanting. Rupert Holdsworthy, INN News.
The latest attacks are delivering much more efficient justice than previous US drone-led interventions, such as the March 2019 strike in Baghez, Syria, that killed 80 civilians, or the Biden-approved drone strike from last year that accidentally blew up a family car, 10 innocent people, and 7 children. Thankfully, the US military has found a way to forgive itself and move on.
I concluded at our level in this investigation that I didn't find violations of law or law of war.
Russia is going its own way once again, baffling the international community by announcing it will quit its decades-long partnership with NASA at the International Space Station by 2024. Its reasoning? Well, they just don't like playing information with others and want to, quote, build their own space station. It remains unclear exactly how Russia will build a space station, given they've only ever launched 7 others in the past, including the world's first back in 1971, and operating the Mir space station, which was occupied for 4,592 days way back in 1986. The decision is unlikely to have any effect on NASA, although the American Space Agency does rely on them and other private companies to take their astronauts to space. Mainstream media will continue to be committed to bringing their stellar coverage of our planet's orbiting outpost, so you can expect the same exciting news about work being conducted on the space station, such as have we got the list? Brian, you're a space guy. What exactly are they doing up on the space station?
Yes, it's all fascinating stuff, Sandy, really. They have 7 people up there since 2000. All American, of course, with 3 Russians, and they're all working very hard on something. Hey, the Drudge, can you remember what work they were supposed to be doing up there?
The ISS is the world's 9th and largest space station and is divided into 2 sections, a Russian one and the other one operated by US, Japan, the EU and Canada, which helps create similar conditions to life here on Earth. Meanwhile, China has launched its own Tiangong space station, set to be completed by the end of the year. Sources familiar with space say that China has been a major influence on Vladimir Putin. Fortunately, President Biden has the US Space Force, the formerly ridiculous Trump idea, now seen as being key to monitoring America's space rivals. Good news for the US, who can afford to be there. In unrelated news, Mississippi Governor Tate Reeves has announced the US city of Jackson's main water treatment facility is about to fail and won't be able to produce the water it needs to fight fires, flush toilets, and meet other needs such as keeping people alive.
Hey, Sandy, what do you call a hippie's wife?
Oh no.
A Mrs. Hippie. Sorry, Sandy, we must go to breaking news now, as famous author and wearer of a 34-year-old fatwa, Salman Rushdie, has just been stabbed multiple times on a stage he was scheduled to lecture on in Western New York. The alleged suspect is 24-year-old Hadi Mehta, who has been arrested at the scene. Rushdie sustained significant injuries to an eye, arm, and his liver in the gruesome attack. It is unknown whether the 1989 fatwa calling for Rushdie's death after the release of his award-winning novel The Satanic Verses had anything to do with the attack. Government health officials are yet to rule out long COVID as the cause of Rushdie's injuries and have encouraged him to protect himself and others by receiving his booster vaccines while in hospital. Long COVID has been linked to an array of ailments, posing a much higher risk of injury and death than an Islamic fatwa for most people. So now is a great time to get that booster, Sandy, before some fanatical maniac sneaks up on you.
Excellent advice, Brian, especially where we are.
And on the subject of vaccines, the FDA has finally authorised the emergency use of updated mRNA boosters, with Australia's Therapeutical Goods Administration set to follow suit. Pharmaceutical giants Moderna and Pfizer, who've amassed a collective profit of $90 billion during the pandemic so far, are continuing to produce variants of the virus.
Of the vaccines, Brian!
What did I say?
You said virus!
Oh yes, producing variants of the vaccine, of course. A bivalent vaccine combining protection from the original strain, hardly found in 2 years, and the BA4 and 5 Omicron variants, being superseded as we speak. We sent former host of INN Tonight, Larry Fillmore, to find out if there's enough vaccine to go round and answer some of the wilder questions being asked by weirdos about this latest miracle, while promoting the absolute hell out of it.
There's nothing I love more than getting jabbed full of brand new vaccines. So now that the bivalent COVID booster's been approved, I can't wait to do the right thing to keep myself and my family alive for another 2 months. And in great news for Australians, pharmaceutical drug cartels have secured 255,800,000 jabs for our population of 25.5 million. That's 10 shots for every person in the country, including the anaphylactic. But you've got to be quick, as most of the jabs have an expiry date of 18 months, or about a week in the fridges most of our GPs use. Luckily, aatack has lowered the time you need to wait between shots, so if you get one every 2 months, you might be able to access all 10 by around this time next year, giving you even more protection from death and hospitalisation than we could have ever imagined before. But there are some kooks out there who don't want to listen to the people who know best. They're doctors, politicians, newsreaders, and celebrities like me and these guys.
Fresher the better. Got it?
Getting information with celebrities like me can avoid future complications, such as forced unemployment, being ostracised from society, Victorian Premier Daniel Andrews, or these 1,223 potentially fatal side effects of COVID.
They're the vaccine side effects.
Look out, there's a cooker going off.
What about the athletes dropping dead?
Ho ho, they're coming out of the woodwork now.
No one's taking the booster anywhere.
I'm Larry Fillmore for INN News. Hey, Gaz, get us out of here, mate. Cut to that John Legend thing again, will ya?
There he is, Larry Fillmore. That's why he's the best. After the break, the August sports wrap from Joe Sockic.
And everything you need to survive the weather with our own meteorologist, Jane Bunion.
In television news, the day's events become history. We're telling history in the way you'll accept it happened.
You meet people, quite possibly that you don't like, and you interview them, and then the editors decide the story you'll want most. In news, you want to be first, but you have to be accurate.
In the way the most people will agree with.
It's an enormous privilege to be invited into people's homes and get paid to talk crap.
People know when they tune into INN, they can believe it, because everyone else does.
News can totally bum you out, or be really uplifting.
There's not another thing I'd rather be doing. It makes me the sock puppet I am.
It makes me the sock puppet I am.
It makes me remember I'm a sock puppet.
I'm a real meteorologist.
And we're privileged to be on INN. The good type of privileged.
Yes, the good type of privileged.
And now to sport with Joe Sockic. Joe, the Commonwealth Games are finally coming to a close.
Oh, thank God, Brian.
Okay, thanks Joe, and see you next week. Weather now with Jane Bunion. Jane, how's the weather?
Yeah, not too bad, Brian. But doesn't Joe want to do more sport?
I suppose. There's the World Flatwater Canoeing Championships in Canada on right now. Or there's the World Junior Greco-Roman Wrestling Championships in Bulgaria. Or the Women's European Championships of Chess happening in Prague.
Do something, Brian.
Cut to the sports wrap, Joe.
Yep, alright. Here's the special Commonwealth Games edition of INN Sports Wrap for August 2022. Well, the games in Birmingham were a big success, as was this rainbow cow, which was their mascot for some reason. Australia, England and Canada won 51% of the medals, the Aussies and Poms snagging 124 golds, just under half of what was on offer. Riveting stuff. Australian swimmer Emma McEwen won 6 golds, breaking the all-time record for medals won at the Games. England's Jake Jarman won 4 gold in the gymnastics, while New Zealand's Aaron Gate actually managed to snare 4 golds for a different country in the cycling. So as the games came to a close, the torch or stick or whatever it is they pass around got handed to rural Victoria in Australia, where Dan Andrews has pledged $2.6 billion to put on the games, on top of his $165 billion debt, giving people who've lost their jobs, businesses or can't afford a house or groceries something to look forward to watching on the telly. There you go, that was INN Sports Wrap for August. Over to you, babe. Jane! Jane!
Oh my God!
Sorry, babe. Jane.
Oh, Joe, it's so embarrassing. Oh, no.
Okay, you two, keep it together. What's the topic for the weather?
France, and their soaring summer heat wave, where human-induced climate change has pushed temperatures into the 40s, melting cheeses and making the French even more irritable than ever. They've already taken their own government to court in 2021, which was found guilty of insufficient efforts to tackle the climate problem. This follows an unprecedented 40-degree maximum in the United Kingdom earlier this year, pushing their summer average temperature to a scorching 17.1 degrees. And now finally the debut of our 9.5-day forecast. And as you can see, if you squint your eyes a little, can they see it? Yeah. Can you zoom in a bit? Well, thanks, Jane. I guess the old Bureau of Meteorology will have to lift their game now, hey? What do you mean? With their forecasts. They'll need like a 10-day forecast to compete with your reports. Oh, well, I hope not. We're the only one doing this. I don't think they can even fit 10 days on the screen, can they? Can they fit 10 days on the screen? Thanks, Jane.
Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago resort in Florida has been searched by the FBI. The Justice Department releasing this redacted affidavit used to justify the search warrant. It has been alleged by people familiar with the search that documents may or may not have contained some of America's most sensitive secrets and may or may not have been illegally mishandled at Mar-a-Lago. The frightening news of a former president having access to confidential documents comes as the hit primetime series January 6 Hearings continues to play out on national television across the USA, now in its 7th episode, with more planned in the coming months. Some of the highlights of the season so far include revelations Trump ignored advisors several times and a bizarre attempt to grab the wheel of his armored car after being told he couldn't go to the Capitol. Really riveting and unmissable reality TV. And that was INN News for August 2022.
Don't forget, you can help us produce our next episode by donating a little value for value at INNformationnews.com.
Yes, any amount is great, and remember to save our website to your phone and browser. But until next time, may our news be your views, and goodbye.
Goodbye.